Hello again, everybody, and welcome into the Take the North podcast coming at you from Haugh on the Thursday of the week before the Bears take on the mighty LA Rams in the divisional round of the NFC playoff Soldier Field Sunday night at 5:30. Along with Dan Wiederer of The Athletic, I am Mark Grote of 670 The Score. Dan, what's going on, man?
Not much. Good energy inside this building here at Haugh today. Better energy than we've had here trying to get this podcast started with some pre-snap penalty issues. I've got Wi-Fi issues in the basement here at Haugh. You're dropping stuff over there in your little closets, but we're going to get on track here, and we're going to let these people know what they need to know about Bears-Rams Sunday evening, Soldier Field, divisional round, NFC playoffs.
I mean, part of it is it's just nonstop out here with the activities. And I know, Dan, you probably are writing more than you normally would have during the regular season. I'm probably delivering a little bit more than I like. It's all stepping up a notch out here at Haugh. And that's just, there's an urgency out here that really is wonderful. I'm not complaining about it, but there is just a lot going on out here at Haugh, including a real injury report, the first real injury report of the week, because the first one was a walkthrough, the first one was an estimate, but the real workout today, which did occur on field one out here at Haugh today in the bright sunshine. It was chilly, but they had the sunshine to offset some of that. Here is what you need to know on the injury report. DJ Moore and Rome Odunze both were out there practicing. Each was in a limited capacity, though. DJ Moore with the knee, Rome Odunze with the foot. Nick McLeod, just like the other day, shows up as a DNP, did not practice because of his groin injury. And then the guys that were full participants, including C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Braxton Jones, Ahmed Ogbog-Bamiga, Jalen Reeves-Maben, Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, all full participants in practice. Good to see it. Can't imagine that Rome Odunze won't play. I did not see DJ Moore in the locker room today for the Bears, so didn't get a chance to chat with him, but I would imagine that he'll be good to go as well.
Yeah, no question. We talked about it last week. Anybody that's even close to being able to go is going to go. And so it's a pretty clean injury report for the Bears. And now you just keep preparing, and you keep getting yourself ready to take a swing at a really good football team in the Rams on Sunday. And it looks like the Bears have gotten themselves off to a good start to their preparation week.
Varying degrees on the opinions on how much the weather will affect this game, depending on who you talk to in the locker room. I happened to talk to C.J. Gardner-Johnson. I know you talked to C.J. as well. I talked to him too, and I don't know if he gave you the same response. But in terms of the weather, he said, let me make sure I have this right here. I'm looking at my little sheet here. As far as the weather is concerned, he said, whoop-de-doo. Whoop-de-doo as far as the weather is concerned. And he said, and I think quote as well, the weather affects no one. And it was his way of saying, screw all that. It's winter, go home. I don't want to hear about that. And he also pointed out, and he's correct because he was with Philadelphia last year, CJGJ. They eliminated the Rams in the snow last year. And he made a point to point that out. Look, guys, the Rams just played in the snow last year. Now, they did lose, but it's not like they have this group of players has not played in the frigid cold.
Well, I thought it was interesting when we talked to Richard Hightower, the special teams coordinator, on Thursday, and I asked him a question about that snow globe that we were all in at Soldier Field before the game last Saturday, and how quickly that weather front moved in during pregame, and how that sort of challenged them a little bit, Grote, with the way that they were trying to, particularly special teams wise, you're trying to get a gauge on wind, you're trying to get a gauge on how far you can kick from, and then this blizzard erupts for about 35 minutes at Soldier Field, and Richard Hightower said, their attitude was just, yeah, let's go. This is what we want to be in. And so I think this team in many different ways has leaned into circumstance all season long. The weather will be circumstance on Sunday, and they are prepared to treat it as an advantage. And so we'll see which way they go. I've got a little bit of audio for you here from our guy, Grady Jarrett, who is a little bit more expansive than the whoop-de-doo of C.J. Gardner-Johnson in talking about his own sort of acclimation to the cold. Again, remember, this is Grady Jarrett, a Georgia boy who went to Clemson for college and spent his entire NFL career in Atlanta before this season. So some of this cold stuff is a little bit new to Grady. So he was asked about the cold on Wednesday. And here's a little bit of the back and forth with Grady Jarrett on frigid Chicago in January.
It's a fair question. I think, my evaluation of it is, when I played for Atlanta, and obviously the dome team in a warm state, and we go to Buffalo or something like that, and you'd be like, you think you can really, go over there and you'll be all right, it'll be good, but till you in that cold, you really don't know, you know what I'm saying? And I think for me, living in Chicago now and being able to have to practice it and then playing in even colder temperatures, I'm able to adapt really well because I live in it, you know what I'm saying? And that's just my experience, you know what I'm saying? We have to go out here and play this game regardless of the elements. And they're going to be ready to play their best, and we're going to be ready to play at our best. But I do think the elements are something, through my experience, that I think living in it helps to play it a little bit.
Have you learned any tricks on game day just to make yourself feel a little better?
I don't know what trick. I mean, you got to have the right equipment, you know what I'm saying? Some guys are no-sleeve guys. Some guys go sleeves. Me personally, now I got a new regimen.
Okay.
So if it's about 15 to 20 degrees up,
yep.
I won't go sleeve. I might go like a half sleeve or no sleeve. But now, see, for times like this, when it's going to be 0, and see, I had to learn in Cleveland. Times like this, I always save when I really got to get into the, mask, I save for moments like this. So, like last game, I thought about wearing some sleeves, but I said next week it might be a little crazy. So I'm going to wait for my sleeve and my glove, everything like that, for when I get 0, stuff like that. So when it get to 0s and up below, I'm going to pull out the gear. I'm not about to sit out here and act like I'm just, you know what I'm saying? I'm a Georgia boy. But I can fight through the 20 to 30 degrees and have me a good day. So without a sleeve. So I think this week might be a gear week. So I'm excited for that.
Grady's going to be warm on Sunday, Grote. He's going to get himself geared up. It sounded like he was going to have, what do you call those, balaclava, whatever the masks are that they have to wear. You may not be able to see Grady through all the stuff that he's going to put on Sunday.
I love it. I love that he's straight up honest about it, not trying to be like overly tough guy. So yeah, you get the varying degrees of attention to the weather. There was one more funny little anecdote too. I think I talked about this on the Score a little bit, but it kind of popped up today with Roma Dunze about how the Bears have been practicing in the cold. Today wasn't the only day. It's Chicago's cold. There's been many cold weather practices. One of the complaints of the players, ironically enough, was from the coat guy, Tony Medlin, the coat drive guy, who was the equipment manager out here. There were complaints to Tony Medlin from the players for not bringing out those massive steel fire heaters. Like, there's no protection, but like you can't run inside. There's no heaters out here. But Rome was saying it playfully and saying that, yeah, I mean, it sucks. The cold hurts. It's not fun not being able to warm up by those heaters that you see during the games on the sidelines. But every little bit helps.
Yeah, and let's go play football in it, right? And see which team's a little bit tougher, which team handles the elements better. I don't think this is going to be the top deciding factor in the game, but it is a factor in the game without question. And so the team that acclimates quicker is going to give themselves a little bit of an advantage there, and everybody's looking for that little bit of an advantage wherever they can find it. I
know that you'll probably we'll get more into what's going on with the Bears and the Rams in this game and how they're going to defend them and all that. But I do want to give one little piece of audio right here from Dennis Allen in terms of stopping one of their best players. I don't know if you realize this, Dan, but in December of 2023, Dan, no, to be real, Dan, Mr. Weedsy, it was the one that informed me of this. He gave me a little tip. Hey, Grote, I'm not going to be in the Dennis Allen press conference today because you were going to be out in the hallway talking to some of the offensive assistants. But as you told me, in December of 2023, Puka Nacua torches the Saints under Dennis Allen for 9 catches, 164 yards, and a touchdown. It was a Thursday night football game. So Dennis Allen comes in to the press room and starts his press conference, and let's take a listen to how this went.
Had a huge game against your Saints back in 2023.
Thank you.
Yes. It was a primetime game. What do you remember about that game, if you'd like to, if the trauma's not too much? And what are a couple of traits about him stand out?
Yeah, well, it was my first time playing against him. Obviously you come away from there thoroughly impressed. I mean, he runs as fast as he needs to get the job done. He's big, he's physical. He catches everything that's remotely close to him, so he's got great ball skills. And he's tremendous, with the run after the catch. I just think he does everything that you want a receiver to be able to do. He runs good routes. He gets open, makes contested catches, really good run after the catch. So he's an outstanding player.
When you say he runs as fast as he needs to, does that mean he's good at varying his speed?
Well, I just think, if you go back to, whatever his 40 time comes out as, it may not look all that impressive in terms of what his time speed is. You watch the guy play, he plays extremely fast. And so don't let that fool you.
This brings us into our game spotlight perfectly, doesn't it, Dan? How did I do? Did I do all right with the question, with the numbers, the whole thing?
No question. And this will lead us, as you said, into our game spotlight, which is all about how high-powered this Rams offense is. It starts with Nacua. It starts with Matthew Stafford. It starts with the chemistry that they have. And just a little footnote into the statistics that you reminded Dennis Allen of in the game that he faced Puka Nacua when Puka was a rookie in 2023. 3 weeks later, that Rams team went to Detroit for a playoff game against Ben Johnson's Lions. And Puka went even better than that in that playoff game. He had 9 catches, 181 yards, and a touchdown in that playoff game. The Lions ended up beating the Rams by a point in Matthew Stafford's return to Ford Field. But these guys aren't alone. Like, Puka's been doing this for 3 seasons now to pretty much everyone he's faced. And so when you start to study this Rams offense, which, by the way, was the most potent in the NFL this year in terms of total yardage and the things that they were able to do, it is so well balanced. It is so well designed. It is so well called by Sean McVay. But you need the players, right? And it starts, again, with Stafford, who's playing at an MVP level. And then you've got Nacua, who's this guy that gets so much volume. He gets so much variety. He gets so much respect from the opponents he plays. I talked to C.J. Gardner-Johnson today, who faced him twice last year in Philly, and he said he's strong. And then he said, strong, like strong with a K. Wow. I don't know what that means, but the point was made that Puka Nacua's got strength. He's got strength at the line of scrimmage. He's got strength with the football in his hands. He's a competitive football player. Kevin Byard, the safety on this team, was also asked on Wednesday about Puka Nacua. Here's a little bit of what KB had to say about this very special receivers that the Rams are bringing to town.
I would just say that he does everything. They throw him screens. Intermediate routes, deeper routes. His hands is incredible. Even the one-handed catch he almost made against the Falcons, that would have been special. But also, he's a willing blocker. They're sending him in there to dig out the safeties, which, most number one receivers aren't really doing that like that. So it's just the toughness that I see from him. And he's one of those guys that, like, as a running back, like, they get better and better the more volume, more touches they get. So I expect for them to feed him as much as possible. So we're going to have to know where he is on every snap.
Grote, 2 weeks ago, Ben Johnson had given a pretty long, gushing endorsement of Amon-Ra St. Brown, who he obviously coached in Detroit. And he likened Nacua to St. Brown this week, and just saying this is a guy that is going to give you everything, right? Like, you can line him up in a lot of different places. You can get him the football in a lot of different ways. He can make plays that way, but he's also very willing as a competitor to go dig things out in the running game, to be helpful to that aspect of your football team. And then they also will put him in the backfield at times and release him through the B and C gap to get him free on routes, right? And once you're able to get a guy like that with some space and some separation, it becomes a problem. I think the Bears defense, Mark, feels really good about how whole they're getting. C.J. Gardner-Johnson back in the mix, Kyler Gordon back in the mix, Jalen Johnson back in the mix. The secondary now has all the pieces that it needs to try to go to take this test. And obviously we know that the Bears had, 23 interceptions to lead the league during the regular season, but this is a huge challenge, and it starts with Puka, but it doesn't stop with Puka, as you well know.
Yeah, and to that end, talking about C.J. Gardner-Johnson and Kyler Gordon, both Dennis Allen and C.J. Gardner-Johnson said, there will be packages where those two players are, and it's happened before, where those two guys are on the field at the same time. So that'll be interesting to see how he uses everybody. But the Rams, they're first in points scored, 30-plus points per game, second in total yards. They are second in passing, seventh in rushing. Kyron Williams, 1,252 yards this year, averaging right around 5 yards per carry so far this year. Let me run something past you. I don't know if you'd gotten into the Dennis Allen press conference by the time this question was asked. I think it was Herb Howard who asked the question of, is the Bears secondary members, with their skill sets, are they better suited to go up against a group of receivers like this, like Puka Nacua and Davante Adams, because Nacua and Adams aren't necessarily quick twitch, blazing, fast guys that you can get physical with these guys a little bit if you are in the secondary. Dennis Allen said, yeah, it's true. Like that, they're not completely depending on that, but it does feel like the Bears secondary is built for guys like that, those skill sets, as opposed to the little guys, the super fast guys that can dance around you.
Yeah, look, like you can go and try that and see if it works, but Davante Adams is one of the best receivers in NFL history at releasing, at not allowing you to get physical with him, because he's so good off the snap at being able to understand what's coming at him coverage wise and release and get himself into space. He's playing with a quarterback who is really accurate and is really precise with where he puts the football. He's playing for a play caller in Sean McVay, who's really advanced at creating leverage and angles and spacing for his playmakers to go make plays. And so, you're going to have to try everything. You listed some of the numbers there and how good and how potent this Rams offense is. You're going to have to try to keep up, because I don't think you're going to really slow this team down to a level where you're playing a game in the teens. And so now you've got to find ways to take advantage when it's there. Davante Adams, he's missed some time this year. With the injury there, but when they get down in the red zone, this is a dude that Matthew Stafford knows that he can trust, and it's become this sort of weapon where it's just like, okay, they're down inside, the 10-yard line here. They're just going to turn Davante free with a matchup they love. And that's why he had 10 touchdowns during the regular season to go along with the 14 receiving and 1 rushing that Puka had. They're just loaded. I mean, they're loaded. And I think the Bears are aware of that. You hear that in the respect that they've paid in this building this week for this offense they're going to face. And I'll just add, this is like, they're really good at running the football too. And Sean McVay's really capable of committing to the run. So if the Bears don't get themselves the ability to stop that early in the game, McVay will lean on that. They got a 2-headed monster with Williams and Blake Corum, and they'll just keep pounding that until you find a way to stop that too. And so it's coming from every single dimension here. And I'm not going to give away my prediction yet, but you can probably hear in my voice the admiration I have for just how complete this Rams offense is.
No doubt about it. And I think about Davante Adams and his days with Green Bay going up against the Bears and some of the just impossible catches that he made, some of the explosives that he made in traffic, often down the sidelines, and just like, how did that guy come up with that? He is strong and he is a technician for sure. One more thing, too, before we start to get into Weezy's 3 things to watch on C.J. Gardner-Johnson. He had a pack of $2 bills in the locker room that he was handing out to his teammates. Dan, I understand that he offered you a $2 bill. How did that go down?
There was a big scrum at Rome Odunze's locker, which is when I got C.J. Gardner-Johnson one-on-one, and he was in the middle of, again, a big wad of $2 bills. He gave one to Jonathan Owens. He gave one to Josh Blackwell, one to Nashawn Wright. I think maybe Dallas Flowers was over there at the time as well. And then I just playfully stuck my hand out, and he goes, "Come on, take it. And I was like, no, I cannot take the $2 bill from you. And so we got past that, but I did not take the $2 bill. I'm not sure why he had it. He said, "Come on, it's good luck."
Oh, man.
Maybe so, but wasn't able to get it.
He's hilarious. It's so funny that his locker is right next to Josh Blackwell, the soft-spoken Duke kid. And as I walked over there waiting, like Josh Blackwell was pleading with me. This guy's talking about something about Duke, like some player. He's like, you got to talk some sense into this guy. I'm like, I don't know anything about college basketball.
I would have been a great little entry into that conversation.
Yeah, you covered Duke basketball.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm still informed quite well over there. So maybe I'll sneak over there tomorrow and interject myself in the conversation, and maybe if CJ's giving out hundreds tomorrow, maybe I'll take one of those.
Just ask Josh Blackwell, just like so I heard you were talking something. Did CJ have some sort of opinion about Duke basketball or something? Just do that. Because he was like kind of pleading with me to talk some sense into him. I'm like, you got the wrong guy, man. I'm not but my partner on Take the North.
So you got to remember that. Just call me over, whistle, and I'll come running over, and we'll get that settled now. I did ask CJ where he watched Saturday's playoff game from. As we all know, he was still in concussion protocol, and he said, "My bad," which was a good scene setter for where he took in that huge comeback. He said he was very proud of this football team for meeting that moment, for coming back and really extending his season so he could come back and play this week against the Rams at Soldier Field, which naturally leads us in to our 3 things to watch.
Let's do it. Let's kick back and listen to what our guy Dan Wiederer has to say to really preview this game, Bears and Rams. Dan, what are 3 things to watch?
All right, the first one's obvious, but it's the most compelling storyline we've got here. It's the Iceman versus the Heart Snatcher. They're calling Matthew Stafford the Heart Snatcher in LA this week after he got in the huddle in Charlotte last week and said, let's go snatch these guys' hearts. And then he went down, led a 7-play, 71-yard touchdown drive to knock the Panthers out of the playoffs and move the Rams onward to the divisional round. We know what Caleb did. We know the throw he made on 4th and 8. We know the throws he made after that to lead the Bears to 2 more touchdowns and 25 total points in the 4th quarter of that comeback win over Green Bay. That final drive for Caleb, 6 plays, 66 yards, a minute and 8, obviously hits DJ Moore for the eventual game winner. And we've got 2 quarterbacks here now that have a proven history of being clutch and being able to take a game when a game is there to be won in the final minutes. It may come down to who has the football last in this one, Grote. And so this is a really fun matchup between 2 guys who are proven in this regard, who give their teams a certain level of psychological lift because of it. Your thoughts on Iceman versus the Heart Snatcher?
It's coming soon. Matthew Stafford is awesome. I mean, we Bears fans have been watching him forever. He is a guy who, and I like sometimes I roll my eyes when the athletes say he's getting better as he gets older. He kind of is. Like it feels that way with Matthew Stafford. There's nothing he hasn't seen. That's what scares the hell out of me with Stafford. Even if you do, like I know he under pressure, all quarterbacks struggle to some degree, but he's seen it all. He knows how to adjust to it all. He has that calm. He has that presence. All of that kind of stuff that scares the hell out of you. But we know. I mean, I think we could all depend on Caleb Williams to make some huge throws late in the game. The constant hope is that he does it for a full game, and he didn't have a bad full game last time, but just would like to see them load up the scoreboard a little bit earlier in this game because as Ben Johnson tried to tell everybody the other day, and I'm just paraphrasing a little bit here, you're just not going to get away with that kind of stuff, like the big holes against a team like the LA Rams. But what a great, and especially for the national audience, like the young buck and the old veteran who's probably going to be the MVP of the league this year in Stafford.
Just a reminder to our audience, Caleb Williams has long-cited Matthew Stafford along with Aaron Rodgers as 2 guys he's really admired as he's come up through the ranks in his own football journey. And reminder, Ben Johnson was on Matt Patricia's staff in Detroit while Matthew Stafford was still there. So they had 2 seasons together in Detroit. And Ben talked this week very glowingly about Stafford's footwork, about his vision, and then Caleb tacked onto that and said he's got snake eyes, and then gave kind of a description about the way that he can manipulate defenders with his eyes and then throw right behind them and just really do some wonderful things at an elite level of quarterbacking that's pretty impressive to watch. The Bears are going to be aware of that. It's going to be a big play or a big part of Saturday's game or Sunday's game. We're back on the Sunday schedule.
I know. I've done that like 100 times already. Number 2, Dan, on 3 things to watch.
Number 2 is home field advantage. This is my new nickname, Mark Grote, for Cairo Santos. This guy is maybe the most underrated player on this Bears roster. And I thought it was notable earlier in the week when Ben Johnson said that Richard Hightower, who's been with Santos for a long time here, has been very sort of influential in building his own confidence in this kicker and getting Ben as a first-year coach here to understand the value of having Cairo in these elements, in this city, in this particular stadium for games like these on Sunday, because Cairo is such a technician. He is such a craftsman that he knows every part of Soldier Field at this point. His accuracy there is well documented from over the years. He's going to go in there Sunday with great confidence. He's going to feel out the elements pregame, figure out what he's capable of and what he's not. We talked last week about his ability to use these dirty kickoffs as a weapon right now. I think Cairo really becomes a little bit of an X factor in this game. And by the way, he's going against Harrison Mevis, the thicker kicker for the Rams, who's relatively unexperienced. He's made all but one of his kicks this year, but that one miss was a big one a few weeks ago in a big late season loss to Seattle. That pressure is new for a guy like Harrison Mevis. Cairo's been there before, and I do think there's a new nickname. I've just crowned it here on Take the North. I'm taking those liberties now, Mark Grote. Cairo Santos, home field advantage.
Yeah, I love it. And like, there's no better example to accentuate your point about the kicking game than what happened against the Packers. Like Cairo just pantsed his counterpart. Cairo, right? 3 for 3. And as Richard Hightower reminded us, the 51-yard field goal he hit is the longest field goal. Apparently, I didn't realize that in Bears postseason history.
Yep.
And McManus, the kicker for Green Bay, missed 2 field goals, missed an extra point, and the Bears are probably hoping they can get a little bit more of that. I had a nice little talk with Cairo myself today. And I know you know this, but he loves the dirty kicks, man. I know he screwed one up this year, and he admitted that. Like, it's a work in progress to some degree. But the Bears are kind of like, there's not many teams that are doing a lot of that right now. They're kind of on the ground floor of it. You're going to see more special teams doing it. But right now, the Bears are actually a little bit trendy in that regard, the way Cairo was telling it to me.
Yeah, HG also gave Cairo credit for slowing down Josh Jacobs on that one return. Yeah. And you go back and watch that. Like, Cairo was willing. I mean, I'm not going to say that there was an Ed Reed style attempt to make a tackle there, but he did get in the way and allowed the Bears to get Josh Jacobs down and the football out. They weren't able to recover it, but that's another little element of the kicker that you don't want to lean into that one too much. You'd rather have him make kicks with his institutional knowledge of Soldier Field rather than trying to tackle stampeding ball carriers that are coming his way. But that's another little footnote on the Cairo Santos story.
Folks, we are moments away from giving you our picks for this big Bears-Rams game. But Dan has one more thing in his 3 things to watch that he would like to share with you now.
The Rams defensive front, this 3-4 front that they run is pretty aggressive. It's pretty violent. Jared Verse and Byron Young off the edges are really, really good at what they do. The sack totals are one thing. The consistent pressure is another. Keep an eye on this because the Bears are going to have to figure out a way to handle this front while going back to Theo Benedict at left tackle, while supplying him the necessary help to help him get his job done on Sunday. And one of the things that both Ben Johnson and Dan Rochard talked about this week is the Rams' ability to, this is a little bit inside football here, but to affect the width of the pocket very early in a play, right? Like, and so you're trying to set up both the depth and the width of a pocket. When that gets thinned out a little bit, that can create some discomfort for a quarterback. Keep an eye on that as Caleb Williams tries to settle into this game and tries to find his way into his comfort zones because they're going to be coming. They're going to be coming at him pretty aggressively. This is a very good front. Poona Ford part of it as well. They've obviously got Braden Fisk and Turner as well. And so that's going to be a big deal this week is the Bears' ability to account for what the Rams are going to do up front in that 3-4D.
Right, and that's not going to be helpful to a Bears running game, which has, I don't know if struggle is the right word, Dan. I know we talked about this, but it's not just what it
dipped,
was.
Maybe they've dipped.
Yeah, a little dip, and talked to Kyle Manun guy about that today, and he said there's just a few little details that we need to clean up, made it sound like it's not a huge issue that they're adjusting, and I believe that, but he said something really awesome, too. I followed up with him on that, and I said, well, what about that, powerful, front 7 for the Rams? And he said, we got a pretty powerful offensive line ourselves. So I was like, ooh, that's good. That's good. And yeah, Theo Benedict ready to go too. He was talking to the media as well.
This is where it gets fun because all the matchups now are fun, right? Like, and it's like, okay, this is what it looks like when you're in the final 8, and you've got an opportunity to go put that forward on a huge stage with big stakes. And so that's where we're headed. We're headed there Sunday.
And now we are headed for the moment of truth. Let us now I am told, I don't know why, but for some reason, Adam Stadzinski says in the chat, leave me out of the predictions. I don't know. Maybe that means he doesn't think the Bears are going to win and he doesn't want to make that pick. So that's what I'm going to assume, that Studs is picking the Rams to win. I'm just going to go with that.
Okay, I'll start it off then because maybe you can be we'll see. We'll see where you're leaning. I don't know. But this is the end of the road. Mark, this is the end of the road for the 2025 Bears. I am picking the Rams 30, the Bears 19. I think the Rams are a legitimate Super Bowl contender. I think when they play their best, they're one of the most complete teams left in these playoffs. The Bears have had a wonderful season, an unqualified success of a season. They have accomplished more than any of us thought that they would. But it comes to an end Sunday in front of the home crowd at Soldier Field in a way that's going to feel a little bit disheartening in the moment. But I think Monday morning is going to be one of the more satisfied day after season ends Mondays in Chicago that you're going to have just because of all this team was able to achieve this year.
Unfortunately, the Rams are just a better team than the Bears. I think that, it's hard to accept that, and maybe that changes really quickly as things change really fast in the NFL. But the Rams right now, just pound for pound, are better than the Bears, and it's hard to make a case to think about all those guys on the Rams offense. Like, so how are the Bears going to stop that? All of that said, the Bears are going to win this game, man.
Oh!
I am done. I am done in this postseason picking against the Chicago Bears, even if it goes against all. So I'm just being a meatball right now. I admit it. I picked the Bears to lose to the Green Bay Packers. I've done my damage. And maybe people listening right now are like, no, Grote, pick the Rams to win because it certainly worked with the Packers. It doesn't make sense. But the crowd, like, to hear the plaudits about what the crowds have been doing at Soldier Field and like Richard Hightower today said 17 years or 18 years in the league, saying it's the loudest crowd that he's ever been around. And other players and coaches have echoed the same thing, which just blows me away every time because Soldier Field has never been known as a vessel for super loud sounds. You know what I mean? Like it's just not built that way. It's built since the addition at Soldier Field. It's better acoustically, but it's just never been that place. Something is going on. There's magic. There's miracles happening. It's hard for me to explain it, but Bears 30, Rams 27. Dan, it goes on. It goes on.
And then that puts us on the doorstep of the Super Bowl at that point. The doorstep of the Super Bowl.
Right. The doorstep of the Super Bowl. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. And I admit I am going against logic and everything that I really think. I guess I'm just thinking I am just buying into for this game that thing that the Bears have, whatever the Bears have, they're going to continue to have on Sunday night.
Okay, I got one more thing before we get out of here because I've been enamored with this all week. The 2-point play that the Bears ran against the Packers last week to Colston Loveland. You remember it well, I know. The Bears came out in quite a unique personnel package where they've got 3 tight ends, 6 offensive linemen, Caleb and Kyle Monunge. And so they line up in this tight formation and you think, yeah, this is going to be a run play. Packers respond accordingly with their personnel to stop the run, and then the Bears spread out wide with all 3 tight ends. Loveland to the left, Smythe and Kmet to the right, and they get a matchup with Colston Loveland against a run-stopping linebacker who hasn't played much and doesn't have much experience or talent in coverage. And they create a mismatch, and Caleb Williams makes an easy throw, and Colston Loveland runs an easy route, and you're just like, this is unbelievable because it's the marriage of talent with a top 10 pick that is really good in Colston Loveland, with an offensive visionary like Ben Johnson, with a talented quarterback like Caleb Williams, and you just stole 2 points with a very low degree of difficulty because you are better in those 3 phases, right? And like just talking through that with Colston Loveland this week, with Caleb, with Ben Johnson, with Press Taylor, the passing game coordinator today, they understand now that they have the ability to play chess in these situations. Those were a huge 2 points, as you well know, Saturday night. And to be able to get that done, Press Taylor brought up the name of Jimmy Graham, who was with several of these coaches that are on the staff that had ties to New Orleans back in the day, including Dan Rochar, and just said, like, you remember, Grote, when Jimmy Graham was here, there were times where you'd see Jimmy lined up against a corner who was like 7 inches shorter and 60 pounds lighter, and you're just like, all either Mitch or Nick have to do is throw a football anywhere in his direction, and he just goes up and grabs it, and it's an easy touchdown. They've got this mismatch again with Colston Loveland in a lot of different ways. And just to watch the quarterback and the coach play chess with that, it's fascinating stuff. And you're just like Colston Loveland is 21 years old and he hasn't finished his rookie season yet. And I think you asked him today about becoming a star.
Yeah.
It just feels like it's an explosion here where you're like, oh, that's a legitimate star.
Yeah. And the stuff too, while we're on Colston really quick, like the rookie wall, he was asked about hitting the rookie wall and why the rookies just haven't on this team. Like, as a matter of fact, they've gotten better. Like Luther Burden is another example. Colston Loveland. Maybe you can say Kyle Monunge at a little bit. The running game has softened just a little bit recently, but it is really nice that we're not talking about something like hitting rookie walls. As a matter of fact, as I've said many times on this podcast, like, big credit to the Bears for their development, and it's this coaching staff, which we have raved about all year.
Yeah, and as it relates to Loveland, you just don't see the growth slowing down, right? Like you feel like there's still this period of really pronounced accelerated growth coming, and already he's the go-to receiver on an offense that's scoring more than we ever really see Bears offenses score. And you're just like, man, this thing's got unlimited potential. And I thought that play was a great example of it, because the degree of difficulty was so low just with the way that they schemed it up. And you're just like, man, good luck stopping that the rest of the NFC.
Yeah, Bears have been really sharp too, by the way, with their 2-pointers. It feels like when they go for +2 lately, it's like, yeah, they're, to your point, they're going to get themselves into the end zone. All right, let's get out of here before I start asking questions about Hootie and the Blowfish and things like. We'll get back to that. Trust me, we'll get back to that. I've got many more bands that I will ask our audience and Dan Wiederer. Are they good or not? Counting Crows is what started all of that. But let's get out of here. Let's go home. Let's get ready for Friday and Saturday and Sunday, Bears fans. For Dan Wiederer of The Athletic, for Adam, not going to make a pick, Studzinski, I am Mark Grote of 670 The Score, saying thank you so much for watching and listening to the Take the North podcast.
Great talk. See you out there.